All right, g'day, welcome back to Collectivitis, the podcast where we dissect the disease that is collectivism. How are you? I'm Pietro, this is Floyd. How are you, Floyd?
I'm good, mate. Yourself? I'm, traveling through the winds.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all licking our wounds a little bit post-federal election, and it looks like, for people who dissect collectivism, business is good because there is a shitload more collectivism to go around. There's only going to be more. We can either look at it two ways. Either business is good or we are terrible doctors because the disease is spreading. We're actually doing nothing to stem the flow of collectivism.
You know why? It's because Medicare doesn't extend to dental care. That's why.
Explain that out to me. Medicare doesn't explain to dental care, and why does that increase?
Oh, because we're doctors, and it's a good thing because we care about people and stuff. So, yeah, we're evil people. And the Labor's good. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, okay. Well, that's why they had such a resounding win. Well done, Labour. You've done it again. You've routed the Liberal Party. We could talk the usual. We predicted this election would swing towards Labour actually months ago. So you actually already knew, if you were a watcher of the show, that Peter Dutton had lost. We were correct. We speculated and were correct for once. It turned out that he lost resoundingly, which I think we suggested as well. But we've already gone through all of that. Like, we've already talked about how the Liberal Party was useless, the problems with it, the fact that they're now talking about the solution to this massive loss is to make sure that it's a woman in power and then go more towards the moderate, or not moderate, become more progressive, go more towards the centre, as if they aren't already, possibly towards the left. So we've already talked about all of that. That's tiresome, and everyone's talking about that anyway.
Let's not just rehash the same stuff we've all listened to already. Let's get some unique stuff. So stay tuned, like, share, subscribe if you want unique takes on the election.
You know what? We'll give you the unique takes anyway, even if you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed. But do that anyway. So what we did want to talk about is a couple of the other things that have swirled around this election. Now, first of all, it wasn't just a catastrophic loss for the Liberal Party. In fact, it was a catastrophic loss for anyone who wasn't Labor. Right? The Labor vote went up and took from everyone else, including minor right parties, including the Greens, including the Liberals. It was actually just a resounding confidence vote for Anthony Albanese somehow. And the first thing I want to talk about is that there have been already the same voices that we heard last time there was the federal election and the minor right parties failed to do much. Although in Victoria they did elect Ralph Babet as the 6th senator.
Yeah.
But there were all these calls that, if these minor right parties, the One Nations, the Libertarian Party, the Family First, the Trumpet of Patriots, the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers, if all of those coalesce, they have this sort of 15 to 20% of the vote. It actually is comparable to what the Greens have, if not slightly more, and the Greens get a senator in every state. And in fact, the Greens, barring this election where they've somehow managed to lose them, usually get 2 or 3 House of Representatives people in. So
sometimes, not this time though.
Yeah, well, they might still get one in Queensland, but they've lost yet. So we can talk about that as well later. The one silver lining of all of this is that the fucking Greens lost. So the calls have come out again that these minor right parties are fracturing their portion of the vote too much, and they're all more or less the same. And so why don't they just band together, make this sort of minor right coalition, and get people elected, right? And these calls are coming back again now. I don't know if anyone remembers. Well, lots of people are well aware of Reignite Democracy were big during the COVID insanity, and they were kind of coalescing volunteers and organising staff and involved in the protests, and they were really good. Monica Smith obviously is the leader there, and she's been calling for recently this exact thing, where and essentially saying that it's a waste of time for us to keep engaging in the democratic process if we're all going to be ideologically puritanical in our own little subsect, and overall we just end up losing. So I'll read you exactly what she said, and then I'll get your thoughts on it. I I've just got to, super organised over here. I did have it ready, and now I don't have it ready.
You're just saying that, just so you don't want to appear highly organised, and people think he's just a common man instead of just the absolute legend. So
that's right.
Yeah.
She said the following: "She said, our enemies are laughing at us. Can't you see it? Our rigid morals are tearing us apart and stopping us from uniting. It's time to put strategy first. If we don't, we'll keep losing. We need to face reality. Most Australians aren't voting for minor parties. Many don't even know how the preferential voting system works, let alone know the names of these smaller parties. Wake up. We don't have time for egos and unrealistic dreams anymore." And then she's got a graphic showing that, Qatar has 0.5, Pauline Hanson's has 6.3, Trumpet of Patriots has 1.9, Family First 1.7, Libertarians 0.5, and overall, if we combine all of these, it adds up to something significant. But individually, we are not significant. I think it'd be about 10% if you add them all up. So what are your thoughts on all of this? Are you Unite the Right fan?
Yeah, I mean, go for it. As far as I'm concerned, you guys go for it. I'll go do my own thing. That's how I see it. But I mean, I think the problem is that these guys just quibble with each other. That's why they didn't get any significant ground, is because each of them just swing their dick and say, no, my dick is bigger, instead of doing what she's actually talking about. So if you don't have that in the first place, if fucking ego is taking over everything, this isn't going to work. It'll work for 3 months. They'll all have some sort of infighting. I don't know, some issue like who should we control more, or who's the worst type of person is going to come up, and they'll all just disband. If this election taught me anything, talk as much crap as you want, just do something. Monica, just start doing it. Don't make a tweet about it. Just go to all the parties now and say, all right, cool, I've made the coalition. This election taught me that I'm just sick of people just talking shit and saying, we should do this, we should do that. Just do it. Nike, baby.
So I'm getting a couple of mixed messages there. You said at the start that if you're going to do it, go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and do my own thing. So you wouldn't want to be any longer involved in, for example, the Libertarian Party if they were part of this coalition.
Well, if it all just kind of becomes I'm happy to do what I do in the Libertarian Party, but at the end of the day, I probably am not going to put my energy towards helping One Nation and helping Family First and all these other people. I would much rather spend it on, something that I don't think that like traditional conservatism and libertarianism are really parallel to each other. They're separate things, and there's going to be some division down the line because of it. And I wouldn't want to help these people because they're not my values. It's not what I believe in. I believe in something different.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the point that she's getting at is, and what a lot of this that these people get, and you see it all the time in the comments on Twitter, anytime there's any sort of disagreement. And I know Twitter's not real life, but it's the closest to real life that we get, because we're not popular in real life, but we're somewhat popular on Twitter. So, but you get a lot of these sort
Follow
of...
us.
You guys are so similar on so many things. Why must you quibble on this? Just unite against this greater threat. And what they're referring to are the facts that, by and large, maybe free speech is probably the biggest issue that they all tend to agree on. That a lot of what the impediments on speech that are happening now are not good. Tend to agree that broadly speaking, socialism and the direction of socialism that the Greens are dragging Labour into is not good. But beyond that, immigration, there's at the moment, there's a fair bit of agreement on immigration. They'll all pay lip service to government needs to be more efficient. And I mean, more efficient, maybe they all agree on more efficient. And that's about it, right? That's what they agree on. If you start going any further than that, there are very basic disagreements, and just the other day, actually, I had this up, and now I've lost it because I looked up Reignite Democracy. That's why I didn't have Reignite Democracy ready. John Ruddick retweeted a quote by a short video of Dave Smith talking about Murray Rothbard in the end, and the difference between libertarians and everyone else. And essentially, the libertarian insight that he quotes is is what I think is really relevant here, and the reason why a coalition is completely antithetical to libertarian beliefs, right? And that is, the fundamental libertarian insight is that government are a band of criminals, right? They are a band of criminals, and they just happen to be the band of criminals that manage to consolidate their power the best, and they've managed to legitimize their thievery and legitimize their monopoly on violence, and they use these to continually give themselves more legitimacy, right? So the fact that they'll open more programs, and they'll have elections, and they'll put their friends in positions of power that are called lofty names and give each other lofty titles, doesn't obscure the fact that at their very core, they are just stealing from you against your will. Because if you don't pay taxes, you get thrown in prison, and if you resist that long enough, you actually get shot and die. Right? That's the it's all founded on this basis of violence. And I think the big difference between, and this fundamental insight is, number one, 100% true. Like, you can't argue with it. You can go through some mental gymnastics to convince yourself that it's not true, but it is true. Like, if you resist them long enough and strong enough, they will kill you, right? Like, that is the crux of it. You can test it out if you don't believe me. And this fundamental libertarian insight is something that is different between libertarians and these other parties. These other parties, at their core, believe in the fact that government can and should be legitimate. That we just need to get the right people in. That if we had our people in there enforcing our idea of an ideal world that restricts someone else's freedom in some other way, then things would be better. And maybe things would be better, right? There are different forms of government that are better and worse than other forms of government. But if it's all based on just having a different band of thieves that prioritize different things, then there's no point to the Libertarian Party existing. And I think, like, the other minor right parties probably do have some reason to coalesce and to unite, because they're all, at the end of the day, just trying to impose their vision and to try to get their person elected in so that they can eat at the same trough of everyone else's tax money and make their own buck that way. Like, that is at the core what they're trying to do, right? But the Libertarian Party is something different, and I think that's the thing that is most difficult for people to understand. What do you think of that?
Oh, I guess just going back to free speech, I am skeptical that these guys are free speech absolutists. It's like, what happens when it's something that affects you or causes you to have that visceral reaction to it? Let's just say, hypothetically, you got a bunch of people that are saying things about, Christianity or Judaism or whatever kind of religion is theirs. Are they going to turn around and say, no, that's wrong, we want you in jail? I'm skeptical that these guys are going to really want, free speech. I think they have a definition of free speech that isn't, people can say what they want, I guess, as long as you don't slander or vilify someone else, because that's generally what true free speech is. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned,
this free speech should be allowed to slander and vilify someone. Why are you drawing those distinctions?
Well, I just go from the kind of the legal system, okay, and how it is for say America or somewhere like that, right, where they have free speech enshrined in law. Start with small steps, and I think that these guys do want that. We just want our legitimate government. We want our side to win. It's not. We're not go to a Star Wars kind of metaphor. It is close to May the 4th. We don't want the empire to get toppled. We just want to be the new empire. Yeah.
No, that's right. I think that's probably the crux of all of this. Now, there's some other problems. Like, if we go down the list, I could tell you why I disagree with all of these particular parties, and there's other reasons, right? There's lots of reasons this wouldn't work. For one, the implication of all of this is not that we should coalesce into some minor party. It's actually that we should join One Nation, because One Nation is by far the biggest at this election. They're the ones with the mainstream beachhead. They've engaged with this long enough to make their name really well known. Everyone knows who they are. They're getting close. I mean, they had 6.3% of the vote across Australia, right? Which was enough to get them a senator in Queensland, and it's actually possibly enough to get them a senator in Victoria, where they've previously done really poorly, right? The communist hive of Victoria. It's still unknown whether what's his name, Warren Pickering gets in. Now, so that's the first problem. The first problem is that actually, we're not asking you to coalesce. We're asking you to join One Nation. Essentially, is what this is, because One Nation there's no reason to not have used that name recognition. Why would we coalesce into something else when they've already got that established? Now, One Nation is not actually called One Nation. It's called Pauline Hanson's One Nation. And for one, they still don't have like equal democracy rights across their own party on policies and decision making. It's still a cult of Pauline Hanson. That's a problem with Pauline Hanson right there. So why the fuck would we want to join a party where they don't even get a say on what their party is supposed to adhere to? And so it's ad hoc anyway if you're deciding your policies based on democracy among your members rather than a philosophy like the Libertarian Party. But it's even more ad hoc when it's decided by one person, right? And one person who is quite aloof, you know, if you have followed Pauline Hanson over the years. Let's look at some of the other problems. Family first, right? You mentioned the Christian, they will have different standards for free speech when it comes to Christianity. Like the main things that they agree on, I guess, are like this push against socialism and the left. Family first is very pro-life, which I agree with that quite strongly. But I mean that's a conscience vote across libertarians. But then you look at their other policies, and it's stuff like I was just looking at it before. It's gone out of my head. Oh, like massive restrictions on drugs, restrictions on other free things that people would consider, you know, the rightful use to own my own body, and they restrict on that bit for ethical reasons. Now you can disagree with people.
It's like you know, do whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt others, as opposed to no, we're going to control you because you might hurt yourself.
Yeah, and this idea of, okay, a moral society would have less of these things like, say, prostitution or, say, rampant drug use. But mandating morality has never worked. Like, we have seen that the war on drugs has absolutely never worked. The war, any war that the government wages against something that people want to do and should be able to do for themselves will not work. It needs to come from a cultural point, not a top-down mandated point. That will always cause more harm. So there's that problem there. The others, and it gets worse, right? They're probably the two best options because it gets worse. Trumpet of Patriots actually was the big winner of this fucking election because their whole point, the whole reason Clive did it as far as we predicted, was that he has some sort of deal with Liberal or Labor, or both, that he was going to make sure that none of the minor right parties get elected as senators so that they would have to deal with less of a crossbench. And that's exactly what's happened. Like, the 1.9% of votes that he took across Australia, where his voters would absolutely not have been people who followed the preference, did their preferential voting correctly to get another minor right party elected, because we know that minor parties don't do well with following preferential voting and following voting cards. These are votes he absolutely took away from probably One Nation and a little bit of Family First Libertarian, Jared Rennick, that sort of thing. And then, it goes down from there. The votes get smaller. Jared Rennick, again, he's pretty good, but it's a cult of personality around him. But
it's the best cult of personality in Australia right now, so...
And that's true, right? But, it's the same sort of thing. You disagree with him on something that he thinks ad hoc, and there's no way of pushing or changing or making any sort of dent. It's like a philosophy based not on defined principles, but based on someone's defined thoughts, which is very weird to be a follower of. It's great to have that for yourself, but it's very strange to be a follower of someone else's thoughts when you can't see them. And that's it. Look, that's my. We can't join any of those. That's at the end of the day, none of these are based on principle purely. They're all based on something else, whether it's someone's ideas of what should happen or a Judeo-Christian idea of what should happen, and it's not it's not based on pure freedom, which is supposed to be what all of these are following. Like, these are the freedom-friendly minor parties. Actually, barring one, they all have some major flaws in what makes them freedom-friendly. It makes them freedom-friendly adjacent, if that, most of them. And Trumpeter Patriots shouldn't even be in that category because they are literally just a fucking scam. They preference the teals in some seats. Cool. No thoughts on that? Yeah.
No, I do have thoughts on that. Well, yeah, it's like I never signed up to be part of a freedom coalition or part of the freedom movement. I signed up because I was against what the government's doing, and now it's kind of being hijacked into whoever's cult of personality it is, or whoever. I think it's going to be more of an oligarchy if everything gets together. It's going to be those influential people at the top dictating it to everyone at the bottom with no one to have a say. And yeah, it's like I was never this is not what I wanted or what I want. So yeah, take your oligarchy and you guys can do it over there. You can get your senators, get whatever, have fun, but I'll just sit here on Collectivitis just talking about how crap you guys are.
Yeah, well, that's right. And, like, let's address the last couple of points that are kind of inherent in this idea, which is, well, one, we won't, like, this is the only way to get people elected. So, like, the underlying idea here is it's better to have one of these than to have no one, right? And to that, I'd make 2 points. Now, number one, the libertarian, like, the point of the Libertarian Party is actually in the short term not to get people elected. Like, we get a libertarian senator in. Let's say we get 3. Let's say they have the power of the crossbench and to block laws in going through federal parliament, right? Maybe they block 2 or 3 horrific laws. Have they changed anything? Absolutely fucking not. Like, in the grand scheme of things, no one has to consult them on the major stuff like spending, like welfare, like taxing, like printing money. No one has to consult them whatsoever. And there's no path to that being realistic in the near future anyway. So even the best case scenario, like outside of the realm of what is even believable right now, which is, let's say, 3 senators and having the balance of power in the upper house, there's nothing libertarian that's going to come from that, from the political realm, from the democratic process, right? The point of the Libertarian Party and of getting people elected is, first and foremost, that people need to understand, one, what libertarianism is, and why it's correct. Like, why it actually solves these problems, why it has answers to everything that ails us. This election was around the idea of cost of living, and nobody knew what the problem with cost of living and what needed to happen other than libertarians, right? So this is the number one point why there needs to be a Libertarian Party, and even if we were to get 3 libertarians elected, it wouldn't make the difference that we need it to, other than the fact that they would have a podium to tell people what these problems are. Let's say we get another freedom-friendly minor party person elected, like we have Ralph Babbitt in there at the moment. He would be the typecast of the kind of person that this kind of coalition would get in, right? There's no reason that it would be anyone vastly different to Ralph Babbitt. In fact, it's probably going to be Warren Pickering right now, if it is anyone at all. What do we get from Ralph Babbitt? He votes the right way on a couple of fringe free speech issues. Great. We still lost that. Like, well, we lost one. They blocked. Like, fantastic. What did we get? What has he done to raise the profile of freedom? In fact, probably he's done more harm than good, because he's not a good advocate and he tries to follow controversial Trump-esque trends. And there's nothing. We've gotten nothing out of it. There's nothing, even though he is, like, supposedly closer to libertarianism than, say, a Labour or a Liberal member, we get nothing more we get no single one person has been awoken to the message because of him being there, as opposed to, say, Lion Helm, which got the party from 0 to actually having some sort of movement that has kept the party going in some stead for a little while. So there's no point to it, even in that sense there. Even if it were to get people elected, it does nothing, because the point of the Libertarian Party is not first and foremost to use the democratic process to do things, because it can't. We are nowhere near it. And democracy itself is inherently flawed. So, anyway.
Yeah, and I think it goes beyond necessarily having like a Libertarian Party and just libertarianism in action and just people going out and finding a problem, getting a solution to it, raising awareness. Yeah, it is exactly. You're not going to get that democratic process. It's going to be through people coming together, even if it's just sharing your thoughts with others, giving someone a book. This is how it works. It's not going to be getting a bunch of votes behind you. It's not going to be getting someone in one nation and then that might lead on to someone else in a Libertarian Party or something like that. It's about all of us taking our ideas and agora, anarchy, action. So we're going to start trading with each other in gold and silver or Bitcoin and stuff like that. We're going to promote ideas of anarchism and we're going to take action on things. So A3, baby.
Hell yeah. That's good. I like the positive spin that this is now taken, because I was getting pretty preachy and depressed a few minutes ago. Look, let's continue in that vein and get some positive out of this election. So what are the positives to come out of it? Now, I know the Libertarian Party, there's not a lot of positives there. That's such a small fraction of the vote, so significantly dropped from last time. Freedom-friendly miners, if you are going to take that as a positive, there's not anything positive to look at. Liberals slaughtered. Labor, massive victory. But the Greens have lost. First of all, they've lost Melbourne and Adam Bandt. It looks likely that they'll get... It looks not likely. I'd say possible. It's about a 50-50 shot that they don't get anyone in. There's one lower house seat in Queensland that's still very much in the balance between them and Labor. Well, obviously this isn't good. This is an unmitigated good. The Greens are way worse than Labor, and they actually drag Labor to do much more worst, socialist, horrific things. But my question is, I suppose, usually when there is such a swing towards the left, the Greens actually pick up. It'll usually be the Greens pick up, and that pushes Labor to pick up more seats and have a resounding win. This is an odd circumstance because it's a case where Labor's picked up and the Greens haven't. So why do you think that dynamic has happened? Because that's what's weird.
Yeah, I think just Labor had a better campaign. I think it all comes down to marketing and advertising. At the end of the day, they kind of identified the issues, however it was, whether it was through AI or data or they just had some good people on the ground. They found what the issues were and they've said, all right, cool, let's appeal to voters. They've appealed to the voters and they've got the votes because of it. So I think they just were solid in their campaign, at least in those 2 months leading up to the election.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Greens are usually very good at marketing. Like, the Greens marketing themselves is usually a plus. And it does need to be said that the Greens, I don't think their vote has actually changed all that much federally. In fact, it may even have gone slightly up. What has happened is they've lost points in the key races that they needed to. Like, so Melbourne, for example, very viscerally turned against Adam Bandt by like a 6-point margin or something like that, possibly even an 8-point margin. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. In all the lower house seats, they had this massive turn away from them and towards Labor. A lot of the conversation I saw was no, actually they did lose a couple. They lose about a point overall federally, which was not enough to necessarily make them lose all those spots. The problem was that Labor took points from them and from the Liberals. So yeah, I don't. Is it because Labor ran such a great campaign? Did Labor run such a great campaign?
Well, compared to the Greens and the Liberals, I mean, the Greens usually you've got. I don't think they were able to mobilise their volunteers. I saw very few corflutes compared to the last election. I didn't get letterboxed. I know some other areas did, but yeah, they just kind of seemed like they'd fallen apart. Maybe they were out in Melbourne, focusing on that area. Maybe they were out in Richmond. Wherever Melbourne is, South Yarra, I don't know, I'm just making it up because I think Melbourne and I think no suburbs. But yeah, I didn't really see like a show of force from the Greens. Even at my polling booth, they came, they set up a corflute and then they just left.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's odd. Well, yeah, I don't know why that, like, you'd think that they're absolutely on the up, and they would have absolutely taken more this time around. And given the fact that like the odds were looking like prior to election day, the odds were favouring minority government with the Greens in the balance of power. So that kind of did take people by surprise.
And well, maybe their donations weren't good as well.
Maybe. Maybe when you enact as much socialism as you possibly can, people don't have as much disposable funds to give to a political party that's pushing for socialism. That could have something to do with it.
Or they radicalize them to the actual socialists.
That's right. They lost votes to the actual socialists. True.
It's like, well, hey, why take the fake when I could get the genuine thing, you know? Like,
you're telling me the Greens are actually socialists? This is great. I love socialism. I'm going to go join the socialists.
Yeah. These guys don't want just free dental. They want free everything, man. Like, you know.
Hell yeah, that's what I want. Fuck the environment. I never gave a fuck about the environment. Maybe that's it. All right. Well, look, I guess that's a positive note. We lost. I hope they didn't go to the socialists, because that would not be a positive note overall. But anyway. All right. Well, we'll leave it there for today, unless you've got any last comments or messages. That's it. That's the end. That's the last time I'm going to talk about the election. I don't want to hear about this goddamn election anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to hear in my personal life enough people talking about it. So yeah, let's leave it from a collectivitis perspective. And I guess I will leave it with this. You did mention before about like what's the good, we can look at this. And I think it's just, all you can go is up from here. All the Liberals can really do is go up from here, unless they completely crumble. I think everyone who isn't like Labor can just go on the upwards and do something better next time. So hopefully that's a mentality that is adopted, or it's just, let's just play the same game because we'll expect people will turn to us this time because Albanese and the Labor are just going to do something stupid. Who knows? But I hope the Liberals pull their heads in.
Yeah, that's reminded me of a positive that I had in mind. It's actually the opposite to what you've said. I hope this causes the Liberal collapse. I hope this is finally the nail in the coffin. Like, they've been teetering on the edge, and they just need to die. Like, there is no point to them. They are irredeemable at this point. They have sacrificed too much. I don't want them to be reformed. I want them to die. If it comes to it, I would rather be dealing with Pauline Hanson's One Nation as the alternative to Labor than the Liberals anymore. So hopefully that's a good that could come out of this. That's another good that could come out of this. Maybe this election was a positive in the end. Who knows?
We'll see when this isn't the last time we talk about the election. We're actually going to come back to it in 3 years' time and reflect back on it. So
that's right. Yeah. There's like the meme of like Greens claiming things that they've done. There's like a page. It's like a page of Greens claiming wins that they've done where they actually didn't do shit.
Okay.
Well, this is Libertarians claiming wins when we absolutely have obviously lost. Well, we won this election, it turns out.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for today. If you don't already, as Floyd said, you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter. So do that. Go and do that. Support us. Follow us for some more pessimistic takes. Hopefully some more optimistic ones as well. We will catch you next time.
See ya.